Melissa, hey, congratulations on being part of this Star Trek Strange New Worlds universe.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. The reaction from fans has been extraordinary. We're in the middle of filming season two, and it's been a ride, and we're excited to be filming and also watching everyone's reaction to what we did last year.
I know it's amazing. I don't only a few episodes left for season one. I don't know what the fans going to do. Between now and
I
season
know,
two.
right? Rewatch everything. Just keep watching, keep rewatching.
Most excellent. So, everyone's going to ask you, like, how does it feel being part of this universe? And were you always a fan, or you became a fan?
Sure. So, it's such a funny question. I find because it's like Star Trek is everywhere. It's such a part of our culture. For multiple generations now that when people ask me like, were you always a fan? I was like, well, when I was younger, like I watched The Next Generation. I know that theme song by heart. I still think it is now my second favorite Star Trek theme song. Ours is the first. This is pretty incredible. But so I watched The Next Generation. Like I adored Commander Riker, and who I've now gotten to work with. That's not a spoiler because people have already known it. He's directing one of our episodes in season two. Jonathan Frakes is just fantastic as a director as well as an actor, and he's got the most wonderful voice. But yeah, so Star Trek has always just been a part of all of our lives, and it was funny because as I was waiting to find out if I'd booked the role of Erica Ortegas, I was trying not to watch anything that would possibly bring up Star Trek. No matter what I watched, it didn't matter if it was from 20 years ago, 30 years ago, current day, there was a Star Trek reference in everything. Like I was watching a reality show about like gardening, and the woman's dog was named Mr. Spock. And I'm like, wait, you can't make this up. And so it's just everywhere. But then you also, when you book a show like this, you find out that you have a lot of Trekkies in your life. And then you realize too, how much you actually know about Star Trek, and about, how much you know about the lore. So I always say, yeah, I'm a fan. I never considered myself a Trekkie. Now I'm a full Trekkie, because I think in Star Trek just about every day now. So that's been a very cool part about filming and about being in this world now, is just anybody you meet is just like, oh yeah, Star Trek, I know. Oh yeah, Captain Pike, he served before Captain Kirk. Like everybody knows. So that's been a blast.
Well, I mean, it has been around for 55 years, longer than I've walked the earth, so that is for certain. Hey, so I'm curious, what was that audition process like? Was that pretty intense for you?
So the funny thing is, it was in the middle of it was at the tail end of 2020, so it would have been like in October, November. And at that point, I was so exhausted from everything pandemic related. And in our industry, all auditions had gone from in person to being fully self-taped. So I was auditioning every other day from, our little studio in our apartment. And so when the audition came in, like I saw, like, unlike some of, my castmates who had kind of, code names, because they didn't want anybody to know that they were playing these legacy characters. My breakdown said I was Erica Ortegas. It said, she was a combat veteran, a pilot, she was Latina, everything that she is now, my breakdown said. And so there was no mystery. I knew it was a series regular for a Star Trek show, but I would think I was so kind of exhausted from auditioning and just, the rigors of, those early months of COVID and the pandemic, that I was just like, let's just get this done. But what I remember particularly was that the writing was so good in my audition scene. And it was just one scene, was the initial audition was just one scene. The writing was so good, and the character felt so much like me and had so many of my own attributes that it felt easy, if that makes sense. The audition felt easy. In fact, I had more difficulty getting the audition to the casting directors, because it was so confidential. It couldn't go through my reps, so they didn't even know what the audition sides were. I had to like get it to the casting directors, and the whatever the platform I was supposed to upload it on, wasn't working, and didn't have a password, and so I had to email it to them. And I remember when I emailed them the audition, I just remember, like, there's a beanbag we have in our living room. I just like fell into the beanbag, and I'm like, what is my life? And I'm like, here I am, like, these silly email deadlines. And then I forgot about the audition. 2 weeks later, I got a text from my manager saying, you have a call back, and you're going to have a producer session with Henry and Akiva, and there is my new life began.
Wow, that is quite a journey and path. Now you mentioned you have certain attributes that kind of fits into Erica Ortega. I'm going to take a wild guess. Is it the sarcasm?
Oh, there's definitely, yeah, that her ability to be sarcastic, to that dry wit, the gallows humor, just the ability to kind of insert comedy even when tragedy is near, is me. But I didn't, that was already part of the writing, and so that's why I keep kind of, not many days go by where I'm not in awe of the fact that I have this role, or even that I'm always in awe that the role even exists, because it almost feels like I was made for the role, and that sounds like very, like, maybe cocky, but I've been, doing on camera work for over 10 years, and I've definitely put the work in, and so finally, I get this role, and I'm like, yeah, the right role came along. This was my first series regular, and so I'm able to say, yeah, I really do feel like I was made for this role. And I say it with, no kind of, I don't say it, like, to be cocky. I just say it with, I'm exhausted and I'm happy I got this wonderful role. But yeah, so that comedic relief, I'm so happy that it's in the writing, and it's also really, it comes off very organically, and I hope that comes off in how I in my performance, because it's not meant just to be kind of like, oh, a comedic bit that kind of comes into, it's part of who Erica is, and it's part of her, it's part of her interaction with her crew, and it's part of what keeps her from, it's part of what allows her to do her job so well, because she's seen the worst, and she has been, in battle, and she has lost friends and lost family, and so she knows what tragedy looks like, and she also knows what comedy looks like, and is able to kind of navigate both worlds.
So it's almost like putting up like a personal wall in its own way that we could relate to.
Yeah, I would say even more than that, though, because I don't want, because it would sound like as if she's like hiding something, but she's definitely protecting her energy for sure. But one thing that I kind of kept saying, and then, like, fans, now that I have this platform, I have so many people kind of, speaking to the role of Ortegas, and speaking to me on social media. But I had, this kind of, in response to a tweet, I had all these, like, real life, people who are in the military, people who are EMTs, people who are doctors, people who are in life and death situations all the time. And they were like, what Ortegas is doing is very true to real life. It's like when you're constantly dealing, with potential tragedy, like, if you don't have a gallows humor, it's going to be a difficult career. It's going to be a difficult existence. So they say that when they see what she's doing on the bridge, they see themselves in it. They see, interactions that they have with their partners on the job all the time. And so to have kind of bake that into my performance, and then to hear now from fans that rings true, I mean, that's the highest praise that I can get as an actor, as a storyteller.
Now, let me ask a behind the scene thing, because I think I've been in a studio once a long time ago where they use one of the buildings for, the original Star Trek, but at that time they didn't really have anything. What do they build on your set? They have the bridge, they have the hallways, is it all in one location?
Oh my God, it's all there. Yeah, it's like you walk onto the bridge. You walk into turbo lifts. We walk into the ready room. It's all there. The only additional component that we have is the AR wall. So I don't know if you've heard of the AR wall, but it's essentially like a bigger and better, and just more advanced green screen, where it's like, as the actors, we get to step into, and that's a separate studio than our main stages. But you get to step into the world that is being created around you via special effects, and it's incredible, because I think it brings a lot more. We're able to bring more out of our performance, because we're standing in something that you could not create in real life. And so much of Star Trek 2 is, when we're looking at things on the view screen, a lot of times, it's never there, right? Because that's all being created in post-production by special effects. And so much of what we do really is like, we're imagining these worlds, we're imagining these scenarios. but it is very real to us. Like I've said it a million times now at this point, but I'm like, at any point, like I feel like if I walk onto the bridge and I look at my helm screen and I think, I'm just here. This is just I'm just an actor. I might as well go home, because what happens on the bridge, what happens on the Enterprise is so big for fans, and it's so intrinsic to what makes Star Trek that you have to really go into it, and I do anyway. I've never been method before. I'm method now as a Star Trek actor, where it's real to us, but it also makes watching the episodes a whole new experience for us, because half of what we see in the episodes was only in our minds as we were performing it. And so yeah, it's not many actors can say that about the work they do, I think. But you can when you're on Star Trek.
Let's be honest here, because you're playing this helmsman navigator on the bridge. Your hand movements on the display, because we know that's not a real display, but do you have a particular hand movements that you are actually doing when you're pushing the buttons or sliding, or you're just basically winging it as we go?
No, never winging it. If I wish I could be the kind of person that would wing it, because it would make everything easier. But no, my first day on the bridge, I was very concerned with how do I fly a starship. Like that was a legitimate question that I had, and what I started to do was I just started to ask a lot of different people, and there was just wonderful people all across the crew. John Van Sitters and Timothy Peel, in particular, both of them. I was Zooming with them because they know so much about Star Trek history. They know so much about the Enterprise. They know so much about Tim creates the graphics, that I was able to speak with them and really understand everything about the ship, because I feel like if I'm just winging it, that will be evident in my performance. And so there was even times, where I would be doing things like evasive maneuvers is the best example, where even though our screen isn't interactive, it is very much there. Like you would believe it was interactive if you were to sit there with me at the helm. But I would be doing things where I would be like, if I'm actually going and plotting and putting in evasive maneuvers or plotting a course, I would want to see that. And so even if the camera doesn't catch it, it's important for my performance that it is appearing, because I have to actually be flying the ship, and that plays in my face, which then plays, on the camera, which plays with my castmates. And so, yeah, so I definitely have ways of doing everything. And I keep learning new things all the time, which is just like, it makes the job all that more exciting.
Well, speaking of new things, one of the things that we want to talk about is the sword fighting skills of yours in this upcoming episode. Hey, yes. Talk about that training and how exciting is this sword fighting is new to you then, right?
No, so that's the funny thing is when I first got word that I would be sword fighting, episode 108 was very unique in that we heard about it so early on in filming, but we didn't get a script until like the night before, I think. But there was so much planning that went into the episode that we were seeing costumes, we were seeing illustrations. I heard that I'd be sword fighting. And I have a background in martial arts and weapons, and also a background in sword fighting on screen. And so it's a whole different thing. Like stunt work is different from, even if you do martial arts, the work that stunt men and women and stunt people do is its own art form. And but I had done sword work before, and so when I got word that I'd be a sword fighter, I didn't know anything about my character, about the story. I touched base with our stunt team, our incredible stunt team, and we started practicing at months in advance. And we had no idea what the choreography would be, but it just allowed me every couple of weeks to really just get used to being used to working with other stunt people and working with a sword. And so when we finally did get the story and we discovered that we were going to be filming essentially the battle in a corridor, it was much less space than we originally had anticipated. And then we had to kind of change and roll with that. But yeah, it was new to me in terms of doing so much like kind of one-on-one with other stunt people. But I did have experience with the sword, and but this was a whole new level. I was sword fighting in space. Like, I mean, you can't, like, how do you prepare for that?
Well, you can't beat that. Everyone's going to be very excited about that episode. That's for sure.
I can't wait.
Melissa, one more question before I let you go, and this is going to be an offbeat question, but I have to ask is the haircut, the hairstyle. Whose idea was it? I mean, I'm biased. I like short hair, and as I watched the first season, I feel like Anson's hairstyle changed from episode to episode, but yours fairly consistent.
Yes, yes. The hairstyle. So the funny thing is, and I have proof of this if you go to my Instagram, but I actually had a very similar haircut to this several months before I auditioned for Star Trek, and where it was like shaved on the side. Not as amazing as this cut. This is freshly shaved and cut from this morning with our wonderful onset barber Anthony. But I had it like in September of 2020, and then at the time my manager was just like, it's a bit severe. We were trying to book a role, and so he was just like, maybe if we grow it back out to your regular kind of pixie cut, we'll be able to audition for a host of different things, and casting directors can kind of see you in multiple lights. But I was kind of like, I love this kind of haircut. It just works for my face and for everything. So when I auditioned for Star Trek, I had my regular pixie cut, and then when I was on set in Toronto and we were discussing haircuts, when they started to send me kind of their ideas, it was in the vein of this. And I came down to 3 options, and this was one of the options. This is even cooler than what that option was. It was like a picture that we found. And I remember my partner, Brian, he was just like, go for that one. He's just like, there will be no other woman on TV with a haircut that dramatic and who can pull it off. Of course, he's my partner, so he loves me, and he was like, who'll be able to pull it off? Like, you'll be able to pull it off, and you're on Star Trek, you're in space, like, do it. And then I remember going to set and finding out that Henry and Akiva, that was their top choice. But they were like, but if Melissa wants something else, we're down for that. But that was also their time. And I was like, okay, cool. And then I walked into the hair trailer and I met Ethan, who plays Spock, for the first time. And I sat down next to him, and he was just like, he turned to me, he was like, congratulations, so great to meet you. And then I showed him, I don't even know if he remembers this, but I showed him, I was like, what do you think of this haircut? And he was like, yeah. And so I always say that, like, it was me, it was my partner, Brian, it was the producers, Henry and Akiva, it was, of course, the hair department, and it was Ethan that helped me come to the decision to do this hair. And I just love it. It feels like I was always in it. And I booked another role when I was on break between season 1 and season 2. My hair had grown out again, and the hair department from that show saw my Instagram, and they were like, can we do that haircut? And I was like, sure, it's the Ortega's cut, let's do it. So even for that role, I had a similar haircut present day. So that's how this haircut came to be, and I'm quite happy with it. I get shaved every day because my hair grows so fast. So it's a fresh cut. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what I'm going to do when we wrap season 2, because I get so pampered on the set.
No, that is excellent. That is a great choice, and
thank you.
You're right. It is very unique, and everybody loves it, and that's what certainly make Erica Ortega's different from all the other helmsmen.
Yes.
Well, Melissa, thank you very much for carrying this conversation. I would love to ask season 2 questions, but I know you're just going to say, I can't tell you anything. But
I'll say I can't wait for everyone to see it. It's incredible. If you loved season 1, I mean, just hold on. Season 2 somehow gets even better. We'll say that.
Even better. I mean, this is already. I don't know how you top season 1, but we're excited. Thank you very much, Melissa. Hopefully we get to do this again.
Definitely. Awesome talking with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.